Overall, 7-1 at home. That keeps the NFC North race a tight one. Minnesota has wins in 7 straight. They're now tied with the Lions for the division lead. They caught a break when Buffalo beat Detroit 48-42 on Sunday. Aaron Jones and Cam Akers rushed for scores for the Vikings, while quarterback Sam Darnold was 24 of 40 passing for 231 yards with a touchdown. He connected with Justin Jefferson. The Falcons beat the Raiders 15-9. Atlanta improves to 7-7. They snap a 4-game skid and remain a game behind the first-place Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC South. Atlanta owns the head-to-head tiebreaker in a close race with 3 games left. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
If you've been putting off holiday shopping, you're not alone. But the holidays are next week, so it's time to kick things into high gear. Macy's Holiday Countdown Sale is here to make last-minute shopping easy with great deals on top gifts like cozy hat, scarf, and glove sets from Coach, Kate Spade, and more for $49.99. Boxed up and ready to give. Easy. So if you haven't gotten to everyone on your list yet, don't be too hard on yourself, but do shop Macy's ASAP. These deals end Thursday. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
This year, American farmers will harvest 2.8 billion bushels of wheat and 15.1 billion bushels of corn. And to this day, American road workers have built 4.2 million miles of roads and counting. We're proud that John Deere machines rolling off the line here in the USA play a part in supporting Americans who work the land and build a better tomorrow. Nothing runs like a Deere. Learn more at johndeere.com/manufacturing.
No way football is played in the fall and winter.
Because the hits don't hurt as much when you're numb. Get the lowdown on all the sports action coming up right here.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Scott Wetzel and Ben Stevens.
And welcome in. It is Football Full Circle on this Tuesday afternoon. I am Scott Wetzel, joined by Ben Stevens here in a little bit as we break down the NFL scene for the next 60 minutes. The proverbial question, what's worse than one bad football game? How about 2 bad football games? Boy, if there was a week in which we really did not need 2, maybe you did. Maybe it is better to have 2 bads just so you can flip back and forth versus just turning the TV set off. Last night, and I'm all for 2 Monday Night Football games. I have no problem with it. I wish it was staggered a little bit more than the half hour that we got last night. At least they're not at the same time. My preference would have been an hour, stagger them an hour. But, boy, well, one game worse than the other. Really, just you had to be a diehard fan to watch both those football games, especially the Atlanta game. And the fact that the Raiders actually had a chance, and not just a chance, like a halfway decent Hail Mary, 2 opportunities to win that football game as badly as they played. Atlanta won the battle, but they lost the war. I mean, the guys on TV were doing everything in the world to protect Kirk Cousins versus just like me just saying he stunk. I mean, and the Atlanta offense stunk. It really did. They should have won that game by 30 points, but they do win. They improved to 7-7. Vikings, Bears, can't necessarily blame the Vikings, but the Bears, boy, this is the 3rd straight game. Chicago's been shut out in the first half, and maybe one worse than the other. First, it was Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. Then it was last week in the coach's fired system, which is a great system. They laid an egg against San Francisco, and you think they come out fired last night? Nope, nothing. This team is deader than dead. Boy, 2 nationally televised games, Thanksgiving Day and now last night. Chance to kind of show the world, okay, we're not as bad as our record indicates and this, that, what have you, right? And really, outside of the second half against Detroit, which they actually almost had a chance to win, and we've been down that road before. But otherwise, it's been awful football. Over the last 6 quarters, the Bears have played basically one good quarter, that second quarter against the Lions. And when you do it on national TV, that makes things even worse. So it wasn't a great night for entertainment, I will tell you that. But it's the NFL, right? So we've had worse TV options. That is for sure. Let's start with the Atlanta game, just because that was the one that ended last. And I spent more time watching that one than I did the other one. Not that I really thought the Raiders were ever going to come back, although they did. I really didn't think the Bears were going to come back. So I had Minnesota last night. I thought Minnesota was going to win and cover. I also, had the Raiders. Don't ask why, but we actually put a couple of shekels on the Raiders. And, it's funny. The four-letter network, and ABC, I forget which one was on ABC, which one was on ESPN, but they're in bed with gambling. I mean, the whole sports world is in bed with gambling, right? I mean, it is what it is. We have a TV show. We have a TV network based on gambling and sport. Everybody's in bed, whether it's baseball, it's tied into all the DraftKings and FanDuels, and the NBA, the NFL, obviously, hockey. The whole world knows about gambling, right? So Raiders score a touchdown. They miss the extra point. The point spread's 5.5. Instead of being down 5, they remain down 6. And the guys on TV were like, oh, boy, people are interested in that. This is not 1980, okay? You could be out and open with gambling. It's there. It's sponsoring. You're on TV because of gambling. I mean, it's no longer this dark thing that's hidden in the closet that you kind of just make reference to, but you really can't say out loud. Just say it. The point spread was the four-letter network's got a gambling network, for goodness sakes. Just say it. The point spread was 5.5 in a lot of places. That missed extra point or blocked extra point kept the lead to 6. So if you're laying 5.5 with the Falcons, you're happy. If you're getting 5.5 with the Raiders, you're upset. Just say it. Versus like, ooh, some people are upset about that. Wink, wink. They do that all the time now. They all do it, and it's just like, stop. Gambling is there. It's there. It's in every arena. It's in every outlet. It's sponsoring all over the commercials. Like I said, all the sports. You don't have to pretend anymore, folks. All right, gambling is legal. People, who's watching the Atlanta Falcons versus the Las Vegas Raiders, right, in a god-awful football game, if not for Falcon, Raiders, or gamblers? Those are your three audiences last night for that game. Raider fans, because they want to lose, because they want to have a high draft choice. Falcon fans, or the gambler. It's as simple. If they were smart, they would play it up, right? If the announcer's job, in part, is to keep an audience, I don't know why those guys didn't play it up. You know what? Hey, the point spread's 5.5. Give us some props. What's the difference? So I just get a kick out of that stuff with the four-letter network. You could go to ESPN to bet, for goodness sakes, but the announcers aren't allowed to bring it up during the broadcast. Goofy. So the fact that the Atlanta Falcons darn near lost that football game is just mind-boggling. The Raider team is so bad, but Kirk Cousins is so bad as well. That Atlanta offense is so bad. Again, they should have won that game 30-10. Realistically, that should have been a no contest in the fourth quarter. Atlanta kept on kicking field goals, never extending the lead. Past the two scores. Raiders finally score a touchdown. They get the ball back. Not a whole lot of time, but they utilize their timeouts wisely. I thought Atlanta made a mistake, and one of the guys on TV, I forget who, did say that. Atlanta could have run a play on 4th and 5, brought the game clock, because the Raiders had no more timeouts, all the way down to about 1:10. And that Raider offense was not going down the field in 1:10. It just wasn't. Instead, they passed incomplete. Now they gave the Raiders the ball back with almost 2 full minutes left. And they got the ball right around to the 20-yard line, 25-yard line of Atlanta. I would have run there, but no big deal. The fact that Atlanta, though, again, almost lost that game. If the Raiders would have completed that Hail Mary, oh, my goodness, and won that football game, if they kicked the extra point in a game which they just played, Desmond Ridder, what is that dude doing in an NFL uniform? He is awful. The Raider offense is awful. They don't have any players. They got rid of anybody that's any good, or anyone that's is good got hurt with that team. I mean, just wow. So they are what they are. Giant fans, you had a rooting interest last night. Maybe you could throw the Giant fan watching, because they want to see the Raiders win. This way, the Giants have the worst record. And in that battle for the number one spot, the number one draft position, which is very important. We all know that. Right now, Raiders and Giants are tied for first place. You got to figure out at the end of the year who's got the strength of schedule. It's almost impossible to figure out right now. But there's a little battle going on between that. Falcons, so they get the win. They're 7-7. They're probably not going to get in as a wild card team, but they very easily could get in if they won the division. because they hold the head-to-head tiebreaker against Tampa Bay. They beat the Buccaneers twice, so they're a game back with 3 left. But I will tell you, from what we saw last night from that Falcon offense, defensively terrific, but, you have to realize who they were facing. But offensively, man, Kirk Cousins was just, what has happened? Is it injury? Is it age? Is it interest? He doesn't have any. I got my monster paycheck. My wife is back home. She's visiting friends and family, and football is now secondary. We're not very good. He's got 9 interceptions now after throwing one last night in his last 5 games. 9 interceptions, 1 touchdown pass. That's amazing. And they threw out a stat there. I'm flipping back and forth on the channels. So I didn't, 100% hear this, but I thought I heard them say that the Atlanta Falcons have 6 points in the fourth quarter combined in their last 7 games. That is amazing. The teams get that 1 touchdown and a missed extra point. They were saying that's what it was. That's in their last 7 games. Wow. That offense is not good. Not good at all. But ultimately, they got the victory. They're a game back at Tampa Bay, and they face the Giants, oh, by the way, next week. Not a bad, piece of medicine to get your offensive woes fixed. All right, football full circle continues here on the Grid.
Coming.
Don't look like an idiot at work.
Know your stuff.
Football and everything else.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
On Monday, TikTok asked the Supreme Court to step in on an emergency basis to block the federal law that would ban the popular platform in the U.S. unless its parent company agreed to sell it. This update brought to you by Verizon. Lawmakers for the company and China-based ByteDance urged the justices to step in before the law's January 19th deadline. A similar plea was filed by content creators who rely on the platform for income and some of the TikTok's more than 170 million users in the U.S. Starting in September 2027, all new passenger vehicles in the U.S. will have to sound a warning if rear seat passengers don't buckle up. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said Monday that it finalized the rule, which also requires enhanced warning when front seat belts aren't fastened. The agency estimates that the new rule will save 50 lives per year and prevent 500 injuries when fully in effect. The new rule will apply to passenger cars, trucks, buses, except for school buses, and multi-purpose vehicles weighing up to 10,000 pounds.
I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
This year, American farmers will harvest 2.8 billion bushels of wheat and 15.1 billion bushels of corn. And to this day, American road workers have built 4.2 million miles of roads and counting. We're proud that John Deere machines rolling off the line here in the USA play a part in supporting Americans who work the land and build a better tomorrow. Nothing runs like a Deere. Learn more at johndeere.com/manufacturing.
Not to brag, but Progressive's Name Your Price tool is mankind's greatest tool ever. Even better than the wheel. Sure, without the wheel, we wouldn't have modern transportation or funny videos of dogs riding skateboards. But without the Name Your Price tool, we wouldn't have easy access to auto insurance options based on our budget. And, well, cars do need wheels. They also need insurance, and insurance never goes flat. Learn more about the greatest tool ever, the Name Your Price tool at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Fall is almost here.
It's time to stow the lawnmower and get ready for all that glorious action coming your way. Stay tuned to SportsGrid for all the strategies, angles, and info you need to get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid on this Tuesday afternoon. Scott Wetzel joined by George Kurtz, filling in for Ben Stevens today, who's on assignment, we'll just say. One of those quick assignments that was handed down to him right away or immediately. So, George, I was just talking about the 2 games, obviously, last night. And we started with the Atlanta Falcons and Las Vegas Raiders, who I still want to call the Oakland Raiders, but I'll get over that, I guess, eventually. But, boy, you talk about just an awful football game. Listen, the Falcons won the game. They improved to 7-7. That's the main thing. They're a game behind Tampa Bay. And they hold the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Bucs since they did beat them twice this year. So they are, very much in that race. But, man, just an awful game out of Kirk Cousins, the Falcons offense. I won't put it all on his lap, but they got the win. But, man, that was like watching paint dry last night with that game.
Yeah, both games. Neither one was really all that fantastic here, right? Then Atlanta's got a tough decision to make here. I know you want to keep going with Kirk Cousins. I think there's a multitude of reasons for that. He's not playing well. He hasn't been playing well for what, a month, 6 weeks now? His last 5 games now, 1 touchdown pass, 9 interceptions here. He's hurting the offense. At least any doubt he's hurting the offense. I think the Falcons know this, but Scott, can you turn it over to a rookie quarterback in Penix? You mentioned they're a game behind Tampa. You play with Giants this week. Washington in week 17 at Washington. All right, tough game, but not impossible. And then you close out at home against Carolina. You need to win out, and you still need to hope Tampa Bay finds a loss here. All right, they play Dallas this week. Cowboys are playing better, but I'm not so sure I see them beating them. Other than that, they play Carolina and New Orleans as well. So, I don't know if Tampa's losing. I don't know if Atlanta has a shot to get in here. And I think the other reason why they don't want to go away from Cousins, by the way, is I think they would like to trade him during the offseason, get something back, maybe a 4th-round pick, a 5th-round pick, whatever it might be. You bench him now. I'm not sure that's possible. You're telling me he's just not any good. That we went to a rookie quarterback while we was trying to push for the playoffs. So I think there's a lot of tough decisions that the Falcons need to make.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the trade angle. I don't know how much money they gave him up front, what kind of salary cap hit that would be. But, everyone criticized the Falcons for drafting Penix Jr., but in the end, it may have been a smart move if in fact, what do you write it off as? Old age? I brought up 3 scenarios. It's got to be one of the 3. It's either old age, and he's really not that old, but okay, injuries after the Achilles injury last year, or interest. He gets paid a boatload of money. He finally gets his big payday. He's going back home, released to his wife's home, and she's got friends and family, and maybe he's just not interested in football anymore. It's got to be one of the 3, right? I mean, listen, I've never been the biggest Kirk Cousins fan, George, but he's better than this. You said it. 9 interceptions in his last 5 games, only 1 touchdown pass. And I was saying earlier, the guys on TV were saying they've scored 6 points in the 4th quarter in their last 7 games combined. I mean, that's amazing.
I think I don't think it's interest. Okay, I think he does have interest, but I think the first 2, the fact that he's coming back from injury. We saw in week 1 the Achilles definitely affected him. Maybe he's worried about being hit. As you said, he's not old, but we saw this at the end of Eli Manning. Listen, and he's not the only quarterback, Eli Manning, that they don't want to get hit anymore. They start throwing off their back foot, right? They're seeing the rush. They're not seeing past the rush. They're seeing the rush. They don't want to get hit anymore. You wonder if that plays into it as well. The offensive line's not all that great. He has the weapons. Right, Drake London's had a really good season, almost despite Kirk Cousins. You have a great running back in Bijan Robinson, so he has the weapons here. But I do wonder if it's a little bit of old age. If his skills are diminishing a little bit, not greatly, but a little bit. The injuries, and I also might throw in. I know we're talking. He had a decent first half of the season. The offense, and is he not quite comfortable with the offense, Scott? I mean, you would think by now he would be. We're at week 16 here, but maybe that's a part of it as well. I think it could be a little bit of everything. Maybe it's not just one thing. Maybe it's a little bit of everything.
Well, you gave out that schedule. That is a pretty easy schedule, right? But it is the NFC South. 1 week we're talking about how a losing record might get you into the postseason, but if you project it out, you can be like, okay, maybe 10-7 actually won't even allow you to win the division because Tampa Bay's schedule is just as easy. The Washington one is interesting just because they're trying maybe to catch them wild card race wise because Washington's got Philadelphia as well. So there might be a second way for the Falcons to make the playoffs. If it's not, believe it or not, winning the division, it's maybe, believe it or not, winning as a wild card team.
And Washington's schedule, by the way, is very difficult. Washington plays Philadelphia on Sunday. Anybody believe they're beating Philadelphia? In Philadelphia? No. Sorry, I think it's in Washington, but I don't think they're beating them anywhere. It doesn't matter. All right, then they play Atlanta. That, I'm not going to say it's a playoff game, but it's going to be very much like a playoff game. Atlanta, you beat Washington, you'll have a shot here. And then Washington closes out at Dallas. We already saw Dallas beat them once, and this one will be in Dallas here. Now, I don't know how much interest Dallas will have in that game. They do seem to be playing hard for McCarthy, but hey, it's a rivalry game. Washington's schedule is difficult. The problem with Atlanta might be, Scott, let's just say, all right, they can't win that division. If Tampa does win out, let's just say Atlanta wins out. What about those teams in the NFC West? They're a problem now. Seattle and the Rams also have 8 wins, right? And now even Arizona has 7. I guess they're still in this as well here. So it could be a wild scramble. I don't think they win with division. I don't think Tampa's losing again. But it could be a wild scramble for that last wild card spot.
Yeah. As much as the AFC is probably settled, the NFC is completely who knows. There's a half a dozen teams that actually could, end up making it. I mean, ultimately, George. Ultimately, I'm hemming and hawing on it, but Tampa Bay, I think, is the best team. I'd like to say Atlanta. I think potentially Atlanta had that to be the best team in the NFC, but it just hasn't happened. And somewhere along the line, they'll probably stub a toe unless all of a sudden things turn around drastically. But if they have another clunker next week against the Giants and win like they did this week, there's just no reason to have any faith that all of a sudden they're going to turn it on last 2 weeks of the season and be able to beat Washington. So I do think Tampa Bay is probably the best team. And listen, outside of Buffalo, who's the only team to beat the Detroit Lions? And that was Tampa Bay. I mean, the upside of Tampa Bay, they could be a pretty good team. Baker could be, I've never been a big fan of Baker either, but he could be a halfway decent quarterback if he just stayed away from the interception, the bugaboo of that INT. But that's a dangerous little Tampa Bay team.
You realize Tampa not only beat Detroit, they beat Philadelphia as well? I mean, you think about it. Granted, this is the first week of the season. It was week 2 and week 4 for what it's worth here. So a long time ago. But they won those games here. They're not going to be a team that's going to be fun to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, they crushed them at home. Memory serves me right in that game. So, yeah, the good old Buccaneers, a little dangerous. That is for sure. So, all right, football full circle. We'll take a look at the Bears and Vikings game next when we come back.
There's smart.
And there's not smart.
Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Keep it here.
And win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
In 1933, the National Football League Championship, the first title game of the NFL, was held at Wrigley Field. The Chicago Bears beat the New York Giants 23-21. The Giants took a 16-14 fourth quarter lead, but Bill Carr's 19-yard touchdown reception in the final 2 minutes gave Chicago the championship in front of 25,000 fans. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the smart house, not a circuit was stirring, not even a mouse. The children were nestled all snug in their beds. Visions of iPhones danced in their heads. Then arose such a clatter of sensors and lights. From the chimney sprang jolly old Saint Nick. He was chubby and plump, dressed in glowing LEDs from his head to his foot. It flashed and sputtered as he brushed off the soot. Suddenly, a bundle of toys and a motorized gizmo rolled out to a stop. I laughed when I saw this in spite of myself. Then a hatch popped open, and a robot arm went straight to its work, filling all the stockings. Then laying a finger aside of his nose, giving a nod, his jetpack blazing up the chimney he rose. Away they flew, chased by a live streaming drone that rose from the thistle.
Happy Christmas to all of you.
Follow me at Chico Palbo on Twitter and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
The early line.
Who do you think ends up with a victory on Sunday in SoFi?
The team that does not turn the ball over, Ben. Am I nuts to think that 45.5 is too low? Given the injuries that we have and given how we've seen the Chargers defense against competent offenses, I think this is going to be a crazy shootout.
It's the early line with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. Wherever you go,
there you are.
Download the SportsGrid mobile app and we'll be right there with you.
So now you can get the winning edge
anywhere, even while the wife's talking to you.
if you got an earbud.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle. Scott and George Kurtz sitting in for Ben Stevens on this Tuesday afternoon, breaking down the not one but two Chuck Willery back into poor Chuck, and may he rest in peace. Games last night. So the second one, Atlanta and the Raiders debacle. First one wasn't much better, George. We talked about it, right? Give me your thoughts on Bears and Vikings.
I mean, the Bears, they have a lot of problems there, right? Things aren't working out great with Caleb Williams. He looked okay, not great. He has the weapons, right? You got DeAndre Swift, you got Keenan Allen, you got a Dunze. So I guess they're on the right path here, but I I guess before you make any determinations on them, we'll see what they're going to do during the offseason as far as the head coach is concerned. We've heard some rumors about maybe Shanahan being traded there, which is interesting. I know Troy Aikman last time on the broadcast, I think, commented on that he thinks the Bears should do that to get the right coach in there. Could be something to that, although I very much doubt that Shanahan's going anywhere from the 49ers there.
Really? I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, it's been going on for maybe 4 or 5 days about that maybe. And I wonder where this starts from. Is this just Chicago making up stuff, or is this stuff coming out of San Fran a little bit that, John Lynch is a little upset about what's going on? That the 49ers seem to have fallen apart this season. But, listen, I don't think there's anything to it. I'd be surprised. We just don't see this very often, if at all, here. Sean Payton, I guess, would come to mind there. This is all about Minnesota, right? With that, Detroit lost. Minnesota controls their own destiny in the NFC North, not Detroit. All right, Minnesota wins out. They win the division. Now, keep in mind, Minnesota and Detroit play each other last week of the season. That's why they control their own destiny here. But, Scott, I got to tell you, man, I have not given Minnesota their due. I keep thinking they're sort of a paper, what are they, 11, 12 wins? I don't feel like they're that team, right? I just don't feel like they're that team. But, man, they keep on winning games here. It's hard to deny it.
Yeah, I say same thing, Joe. It's the Sam Darnold effect, right? I mean, I wonder if we would have this same feeling about Minnesota if Kirk Cousins was the quarterback. As much as we downplay Kirk Cousins,
probably.
But I think Kirk Cousins would bring more legitimacy. It's going to be real interesting. Some team is going to pay Sam Darnold if the Vikings don't re-up. First of all, it's going to be interesting. What if he leads them to the Super Bowl? Now, we did see this with Jimmy G in San Francisco not that long ago, right? Led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. What happened? That next draft, they trade up and take Trey Lance, and they basically bump, Jimmy G out. So we have a precedent for that. But what if they win the division? And, we're going back and forth on Philadelphia, Detroit, and who's going to be the number one seed. And you alluded to it. It could be the Vikings, believe it or not. Just sneaking in and just keep on winning. And Detroit, knocking off Detroit. They'd have to do that in Detroit. But, listen, the Lions have lost already twice at home this year. So that's not an impossible task. Wouldn't that be funny if the Vikings got the number one seed, he leads into the Super Bowl? And would you really let him walk for an unproven J.J. McCarthy? And if you do, is the team going to give him, $40 million a year? That's the going rate, right? I think he's going to get more than Baker Mayfield type of money, $35 million. But I don't think he's that good, George. I think you put him on a team that's not good, and he's going to be not good. You put him on a team that's loaded with weapons like the Vikings have, and I think a number of quarterbacks would be doing the same thing. So it's an intriguing situation. But that's why I'm not buying into Minnesota. It's because I don't think Sam Darnold's any good.
I agree with everything you said. Everything there. I think Sam Darnold will get paid by somebody unless, there's an easy solution to all this, Scott. McCarthy got hurt, right? So he really hasn't played all this year. I know he's been able to watch, learn the playbook and all that. Why not just franchise Darnold? 1 year, it gives you a year. It is a lot of money, granted, but you're not paying anybody now. You're not paying anything to McCarthy, right? He's on second-year contract, so you're good there. You can franchise him and give yourself a year. It's dangerous, no doubt, but this way you don't have to go next year at McCarthy and hope he's that quarterback. You give him a year, once again, another year, red shirt, whatever you want to call it, to learn there and be behind Darnold, and it gives you another year to figure out, is Darnold the guy before you hand him that contract? Because I think the money you mentioned is correct. I don't think he's not going to get Dak Prescott money because he's not considered that tier of quarterback, no matter what you think of Dak. But I think your comparison with Mayfield is correct. Mayfield got 35. I think he'd be looking at 40, 42, whatever it might be here. Probably on a 4-year deal with, $100 million guaranteed, somewhere in that era. So if I didn't want to do that, I think I would seriously consider franchising him. Give yourself another year.
It's not bad. Like I said, the one thing about franchising is you cannot defer any of that money. And so when it's a quarterback and it's going to be about $45 million a year, you got to put all $45 million on the cap. And I know they're not paying their quarterback right now any money, but that sometimes is tough to do. Interesting. We'll talk more about it when we come back. Football Full Circle here on the Grid. Scott Wetzel, George Kurtz.
The winning edge.
You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. Monday Night Football, there were pair games last night. The Vikings beat the Bears 30-12, improving to 12-2 overall, 7-1 at home. That keeps the NFC North race a tight one. Minnesota has wins in 7 straight. They're now tied with the Lions for the division lead. They caught a break when Buffalo beat Detroit 48-42 on Sunday. Aaron Jones and Cam Akers rushed for scores for the Vikings, while quarterback Sam Darnold was 24 of 40 passing for 231 yards with a touchdown. He connected with Justin Jefferson. The Falcons beat the Raiders 15-9. Atlanta improves to 7-7. They snap a 4-game skid and remain a game behind the first-place Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC South. Atlanta owns the head-to-head tiebreaker in a close race with 3 games left. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
I love spreading joy with gifts this time of year, but I try not to spread my budget too thin. Luckily, Kohl's has come through for me once again. I just went and used the 25% off coupon to score so many great gifts under $20, like cozy pajamas and fleece, amazing gift sets, and beauty must-haves. So if you're looking to give more for less this season, get to Kohl's. Select styles. Offers end December 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Flo here from Progressive to tell you how you get more than great savings with us. You get customer service access through our mobile app, online chat, or by phone.
That's a lot of ways I can get in touch with you. I see what's going on here. You can't name favorites, but I'm your #1 customer.
Actually, we offer all our customers these ways to contact us.
I'm sure you give just any customer your personal
company
contact info.
Well, you did call us more than any other customer this year. So in that sense, you are our #1 customer.
Get help from Progressive through the website, app, chat, or phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Days are getting cooler.
The shadows are getting longer.
You know what that means?
It's football weather. So bundle up and keep it here for all the latest strategies and gridiron information.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Hey, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the grid. Scott Wetzel, George Kurtz sitting in for Ben Stevens on this Tuesday, just breaking down the NFL with the 2 games in particular last night and kind of tying that into playoff situations. Maybe touch on some of the games for this upcoming week. But, George, we were just discussing Minnesota there. You know, their schedule is difficult. I will say, you know, they got a shot. You know, they control their own destiny, as you pointed out, but it's not going to be easy, I must say, knowing that they got Seattle and Green Bay in addition to Detroit on their schedule.
Yeah, I mean, the Seattle games, once again, it's in Seattle. Granted, Seattle doesn't have the same home field advantage they used to have there. And we don't know if Geno Smith will play or not. We did hear, I guess, good news that the injury is not terrible. But what does that mean? You know, terrible could be, you know, a year out. Is he just out for this week? Is he 50-50? And they're probably not going to tell us, right? They're going to play that game and keep everybody guessing here. And then they have Green Bay at home. And Green Bay's a damn good team as well. Once again, better playing them at home than on the road, but that'll be a really big game for both teams, depending on how this weekend goes. And then they close out at Detroit. So it's a rough schedule. Hard to see them winning all 3, you know, but they have to win at least 2 out of 3. They might need Detroit to slip up as well. But Detroit at Chicago, hard, even with all the injuries, hard to see them losing that game. At San Fran in Week 17, all right, a possibility there. If San Fran has one good game left in them this season, maybe, especially if San Fran can beat Miami this week and think they have a shot of some sort of winning the division. We'll see how that works out here. But as much as I think Minnesota might be the better team right now due to all the injuries to Detroit, Detroit may be able to hang on because of that schedule.
Yeah. When everything is said and done, though, I was just looking at Philadelphia's remaining schedule, Washington, Dallas, and the Giants. I mean, it's hard not to make a case for the Eagles. You know, we do a 3-team, 3-league championship round-robin parlay, me and Sherapan on In-Game Live during the week, just to have some fun. We picked 3 different leagues, right? So, the NFL, we would probably do 2 in the AFC, and at this point, only 1 in the NFC. I mean, and so realistically, when everything is said and done, you know, is anyone beating Philadelphia? I mean, if you gave me Philadelphia now and the field to get to the Super Bowl, George, I think I would take Philadelphia. I don't think they're losing. Maybe Washington, you know, maybe. Giants certainly aren't beating them. I don't think Dallas is either. I think they're going to finish up 15-2. And I think somewhere along the line, Minnesota and Detroit, well, obviously one of them has to because they're going to play each other. But I think somewhere along the line, both those teams are going to have at least 3 losses, which means Philadelphia not only gets a bye, and now they got home field advantage for the next 2 rounds in the NFC postseason. I'm hard-pressed to see anyone really. I mean, they're all good stories. Rams are good. Tampa Bay good. The Lions good season. Vikings, Darnold. But when everything push comes to shove, is anyone really beating Philadelphia in the NFC? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Been saying this for a while now. I think Philadelphia is the best team in the NFC, and I don't think that's going to change. And if they get that number 1 seed, who the hell wants to go to Philadelphia in January and beat the Eagles, right? I know people say, well, the Detroit Lions have a great run game. The run game travels. Very true. They have no defense. All right, the Eagles have a defense. All right, and it's a very good defense, better than they're probably giving credit for here. Yeah, I think it's the Eagles in the NFC, and I think due to all these injuries to the Lions, it may be in a walk. It may not be all that difficult. I think Green Bay could give them a game. They did play a nice game in Week 1 here, right in Brazil, so could be. If it was in Minnesota, I think Minnesota had a better chance. On the road, I don't think Sam Darnold was beating Philadelphia in Philadelphia. I just don't. So no, I think it's Philadelphia here. And if I had to pick from the AFC, I mean, they're a lot of fun. Buffalo, another team that struggles on defense, not due to injuries. They just don't have a ton of talent there. I think it's Philadelphia, Buffalo. I think that's what I see coming here.
Yeah. Let's take it from the other side of the equation and go with the losers last night. We'll start with the Raiders. I mean, the guys on TV, I'm surprised they brought it up, and it's not a bad point. Now, beggars can't be choosy, but they were talking about Sam Darnold, and they said if the Raiders came a-calling, would Sam Darnold take that money and go there? And, ultimately, yeah, I'm sure he would, right? If someone's willing to pay you $45 million, no matter how bad the situation is, you go, or $40 million, whatever the case may be. But, man, that team is so bad. I mean, they have nothing. I mean, they are horrible. As bad as the Giants are, at least they got Malik Neighbors. The Raiders don't even have that. I mean, they got rid of any player who's any good. Anyone else is hurt. I mean, that would be, if Sam Darnold or anyone else, had a couple of options, I don't know if I'd be going to the Raiders. What a lousy organization. They haven't been any good. I bet they, regret getting rid of John Gruden. I think they really think, we probably should have just kind of stayed that out and just, hopefully he got through it all, but he didn't. And it's not been the same since. Not that it was great with him, but that's an organization that I would steer clear of if I had another option.
Well, we talk about the Raiders. I mean, they should have never gotten rid of, what was his name, after Gruden, Bisaccia. He had that team playing well, brought to the play. I mean, he did a really good job. You got rid of him. I was like, well, what are you doing? You got a coach that the players obviously responded for. They won for, played hard for, and you got rid of him here. The question I think for Sam Darnold is going to be for this. First of all, he'll take the money from anybody. It's probably his last big contract.
Yeah.
Right? So he's going to take that money from anybody. But I don't think the Raiders are going to offer him that big deal because they're going to draft a quarterback. And if you're Sam Darnold, you're not going to get a 4-year deal from a team that just drafted a quarterback. Oh, then again, I say that, and then the Atlanta Falcons did it anyway, right? They gave Cubs the 4-year deal and drafted Penix. But I think Darnold would know the Raiders are drafting a quarterback, right? The Giants are drafting a quarterback. So you go to one of these teams, you're going to be replaced. You're going to be in the same situation Cousins was in. As soon as things go bad, everyone's calling for the rookie. So that would be a problem. I just did a little quick little numbers here. It looks like about 6 to 8 teams will need a quarterback next year. All right, they're not all going to be able to draft a quarterback. So there will be options out there. The Jets won't have Aaron Rodgers, I don't think. All right, maybe he goes to Tennessee. Right, Levis is terrible. That's not working out there. We just said the Raiders here, Giants there. Carolina's a maybe. New Orleans needs a quarterback. Right, that's got to happen here. Yep. So there are about 6 to 8 teams that could be, like I said, in the quarterback market, and they're not all going to be able to draft one. So there will be options for Sam Darnold if the Vikings want to move on.
Wonder what Derek Carr is going to get. He's a free agent. I thought he was going to be real successful with the Saints. I bought into them for a couple of seasons, and it just didn't happen. But he'll be a free agent. I don't know if they're going to bring him back. But would he get another starting job? Would Daniel Jones get another starting job? Right? There's only so many pegs to put in all these holes. There's only so many quarterbacks that you're willing to draft that you'll say, okay, you know what, Shedeur Sanders, go ahead. It's your team, and we'll go through the lumps with you. There's only a couple of guys like that this year. So some of these others, whether it's Carr or Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold, I mean, I think they're all going to get another opportunity to be a starter, believe it or not.
I think Daniel Jones will be a number 2 somewhere. I think Carr will be a number 1 on one of these teams, but as a caretaker. He may be for giggles here with the Giants because the Giants drafted Sanders, let's just say. So he'll take, he'll be there for, maybe week 1, maybe September until Sanders is ready to take over, that sort of thing here. Daniel Jones is a little bit more difficult because he's a running quarterback, right? I mean, not running like great running, but he can run. So your offense has to be different. So he's not a great caretaker for you unless you have that kind of that young quarterback. Unless you have a young quarterback who can run, then Sanders might be the guy for you to bring along that quarterback to help him out here. But like I said there's only literally 6 to 8 teams that need a quarterback, and that's pushing it. By the way, I'm putting some teams in there, like I'm putting a Carolina in there that maybe they don't. Maybe they'll just stay with Bryce Young. Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to play, he'll be somewhere. He'll probably start for somebody. Someone will be idiotic and do that.
I'll give you a team. I'll give you a team that needs a quarterback, but they don't need a quarterback. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they got 2 guys that are in the last year of their contracts. Well, not last year, but signed 1-year deals.
Yeah, no, that's legit.
Do they go back to Russell Wilson? Do you bring back Justin Fields? Does someone give Justin Fields a shot? He was, what was he, 4-1, whatever he was? I didn't think he was very good, but does someone bring him in to challenge for a job?
I'm going to say Steelers stay with Russell Wilson. Fields is not getting a starting job.
Yeah. I don't think he did enough this year to make me think, okay, all of a sudden some GM's going to say, you're my starting quarterback. I kind of doubt that. All right, football full circle. Quick little break and take a peek at some of the games for this upcoming weekend. Got a bunch of Saturday games this weekend as well. You're on the grid.
Yeah, it's getting cooler.
Football weather is here.
Stay tuned for all the latest odds, strategies, and info. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
On Monday, TikTok asked the Supreme Court to step in on an emergency basis to block the federal law that would ban the popular platform in the U.S. unless its parent company agreed to sell it. This update brought to you by Verizon. Lawmakers for the company and China-based ByteDance urged the justices to step in before the law's January 19th deadline. A similar plea was filed by content creators who rely on the platform for income and some of the TikTok's more than 170 million users in the U.S. Starting in September 2027, all new passenger vehicles in the U.S. will have to sound a warning if rear seat passengers don't buckle up. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said Monday that it finalized the rule, which also requires enhanced warning when front seat belts aren't fastened. The agency estimates that the new rule will save 50 lives per year and prevent 500 injuries when fully in effect. The new rule will apply to passenger cars, trucks, buses, except for school buses, and multi-purpose vehicles weighing up to 10,000 pounds.
I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trips. And with a free phone at sign up, let the yes-tivities begin.
No way!
Yes way. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 1/5/25 while supplies last at participating stores. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation on select single line plans. Limit of 2 phones per customer. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can easily find coverage options that fit your budget. If only it was that easy to name your baby.
How about Jaden?
Nope.
Okay. Michael?
Went to middle school with a glue-eating Michael.
Sebastian?
Dated one in college.
How about Damien?
Vampire name.
All right. Greg?
Not feeling it.
Okay. No worries. No worries. Jeffrey?
Oh, love that one.
Wait, really?
No.
Find coverage options that fit your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Ask any player and they'll tell you any advantage is important.
That's where we come in.
SportsGrid delivers gaming strategies and analysis 7 days a week.
The winning edge.
It's your advantage to more winning
more often.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle. Scott Wetzel and George Kurtz sitting in for Ben Stevens today. Take a peek at the upcoming schedule. And this is really the first time I've had an opportunity to do this, at least a couple minutes before the show anyway. Got a couple Saturday games this week. You got a decent Thursday night game as well. You got the 2 Saturday games that are terrific with Kansas City, whether it's Mahomes or not, but still at least there's something on the line for them against the Houston Texans. You got Baltimore and Pittsburgh monster game as the 4:30 game. And, the other game that kind of just jumps off the slate, believe it or not, every game except one has at least one team still vying for a playoff spot. The one game is Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas fans, you wanted football, right? Let's see how bad you wanted football this week when your 2-11 football team is hosting the 3-win Jacksonville Jaguars. How many people, Christmas weekend are going to go out of their way, George, to watch that football game? When they get 10,000 people in the stands, then they'll be like, yeah, so much for Las Vegas wanting football. Welcome to the NFL, Vegas.
Well, it's the toilet bowl, right? That's pretty much what it is. Could be the battle for Shedeur Sanders if he goes number one overall, as both teams are still in the running for it. Although I don't see how the Giants are winning another game this year. So good luck with that. But I said it's an okay. I mean, a lot of the best games are in prime time, with the exception of the Monday night game. How do you not flex out Green Bay, New Orleans? I mean, New Orleans has been putrid for a while. My guess is, once again, just the same reason the Cowboys don't get flexed out, Green Bay's a draw. It is at Lambeau Field. It might snow. It might be 20 below zero. I'm guessing that's the reason why it's a good TV game more than anything else here. But I was a little surprised that doesn't get flexed out here. But I said, you said Thursday night game, interesting game, right? You said it early in the show, though. The AFC field is pretty much set, but it's still two playoff teams here. And the Saturday afternoon games are interesting to say the least. Will Mahomes play? And battle for the AFC North. Right, and that's Saturday late afternoon slot here, so that's gonna be an excellent game, probably the best of the weekend.
Yeah, you said it in the break, and it's true. I wonder why they didn't have a Saturday night game. Start the first one at 4:30, and then have a Saturday night game versus 1:30. And I suggested, well, because the college football playoffs are this weekend, but there's college football games in the afternoon. They didn't care about those. But I would have guessed the NFL would have had a Saturday night game this week.
Yeah, I didn't see a reason why. Generally, the night games, of course, are better ratings as well. So that's the reason why I thought I almost assumed that these games were going to be 4:30 and 8 o'clock or 8:15, like they do for the playoffs. Little disappointed that's at 1 o'clock. It's more for me because hey, Saturday afternoon I might have things to do. You're gonna be a little tougher to get to the couch by 1 o'clock. So I wish it was. Like I said, later evening, no doubt by 4:30, I'll be firmly planted watching the black and blue bowl between Pittsburgh and Baltimore game. It's extremely important to Baltimore if they want to win the AFC North.
Yeah, that division. I tell you what, George. I look for teams that have what it takes to beat Kansas City on the road. I think Kansas City will find a way. They would have to lose 2 of the next 3. Now, if Mahomes doesn't play, Carson Wentz, a viable backup. But, I think they're going to find a way somehow, some way to win 2 of the next 3. And if that's the case, they have home field advantage, right? So, but I'm looking for teams that have what it takes to go into Kansas City and win. And I think actually both those teams have it. But I certainly give the team that has the home field advantage or wins the division a better chance. Just because if you're Pittsburgh, can I see Pittsburgh going into Kansas City? Yeah. They got a running game. They got a great defense. They got a veteran quarterback. I don't think he's going to choke, fall apart at the end of games, when you need a last-minute drive. I think, like I said, I think both teams have that. But I think, obviously, maybe this is just, obvious. But I don't think Pittsburgh could do it if they had to win 3 straight road games. I don't think Baltimore could do it if they had to win 3 straight road games, which is what they would have to do if they were a wild card team. If they win the division, now they get 1 home game and then the 1 game at Kansas City. That's or 2 home games and then 1 game at Kansas City, depending on the schedule, how it works out. I could see either one of those teams, but especially Pittsburgh. I think this is a huge game for the Steelers. I like the Steelers more than I do the Ravens.
I need to find out how about TJ Watt first. How healthy is he? All right, if he's not anywhere near 100%, I don't know. I just don't know. All right. Also, George Pickens. You look at the numbers here. With Pickens, the Steelers have a good offense. They're about top 10. Without Pickens, they're bottom 3rd. They're not very good at all. We saw that last week against Philadelphia. If Pickens is out and Watt is hampered, this could be they could get slaughtered. All right. I think Pickens is, once again, they need both these guys. Pittsburgh is not a team that can afford to lose any of their star players and still win. Not against good teams here. And by the way, remember earlier in the show when I said I haven't been giving Minnesota their due? Well, in the AFC, That team is Pittsburgh. I haven't been giving them their due. I think they win because they're very well coached here. Maybe they've taken advantage of their schedule a little bit, which hasn't been all the toughest here. But like I said, I like Baltimore this weekend. I don't know if I like them. They got to cover that spread, which is decently high spread for these two teams that generally play low-scoring games when they face each other here. I probably do like the Steelers with the points, but I wouldn't touch this until I find out the status of Watt and Pickens.
Yeah, it's amazing. That 6-point spread I'm looking at right now, George. I mean, that's probably off the top of my head, if not the biggest spread in a long, long time. That's certainly one of the biggest. Yeah, I mean, usually these games are 3.5, if not even less than that. If you go history-wise, I got the numbers here. It's remarkable how often the underdog covers in this series. Pittsburgh, Baltimore.
It's 6.5 right now.
Yeah. 6.5 even? Wow. 16 of the last 18 have been decided by 7 points or less. The underdog is 16-2-1 against the spread since 2015. It's just everything, regular season when the line is 3 or less, underdog 23 or 3 or more. Underdog in a series 23-4-3. I mean, it is just so rare when you have a 4, 5, 6, 7 point favorite in this series and they actually cover. They just don't. Boy, I give me Pittsburgh with that 6 points. I don't care who's playing. Those numbers there's just too many numbers to show this is going to be a 3-point game.
I agree. Once again, I'll take the 6.5 points here. Unless you're going to tell me that Watt and Pickens are both out, then I might hesitate there. I do think Baltimore wins the game, so I think it's going to be where Pittsburgh covers but loses the game. Baltimore wins.
That'll be interesting. Boy, the AFC's got not really a wild card battle, but they got at least the one really great AFC North battle to keep us interested for the final 3 weeks of the season. All right, quick little break, and then one more segment. We'll wrap up shop here. Football Full Circle on the Grid.
The boys of summer become the champions of fall.
The World Series is on its way.
And SportsGrid brings you every angle. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Money Line at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-797-1292. 800-797-1292. 800-797-1292. That's 800-797-1292.
Think of us as your cool roommate that has this innate gift of somehow always picking winners and never bugs you about doing the dishes or paying rent. Sports gaming strategies and information 24/7.
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid. Just checking out the standings and the playoff implications with the games this week, George. And, I'm looking at FanDuel's odds to win the Super Bowl. And, the only reason why you put a bet in now for something like this is if you think the odds are going to drop for whatever reason, right? And but I do find it curious on some of the teams that they have in the order. Boy, everyone's drinking that Buffalo Bills Kool-Aid. I am really surprised that the Bills are the odds-on favorite at 4-1. We're talking about a team that more than likely, not definitely, but more than likely is not going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs at number one seed. That unless Kansas City loses 2 or 3, it's going to be the Chiefs. But the Bills are 4-1. Eagles are plus 480. Lions are still 5-1. I have my doubts about them. Then it's Kansas City. And then here's the other interesting team. Baltimore is next in line at 8-1. Now, Baltimore would have to win this week against Pittsburgh. That would put them in a tie that they would split the season series. Then it would go to the division record. That would be even as well. So I think the next common denominator tiebreaker is common opponents. You'd have to look and see who Pittsburgh played versus who Baltimore played, but it's goofy, so it's not definite that Baltimore is going to win that division, and yet they, not Pittsburgh, is the fifth choice. Steelers are 30 by comparison's sake. Baltimore's 8-1, and Pittsburgh is 30-1. I mean, you said it, man. No one's buying into the Pittsburgh Steelers, not just you.
Yeah. It's not just me here. Actually, I think it's Buffalo and Philadelphia that are going to meet here. Although, it's funny. I think Philadelphia is the only truly complete team right now. Listen, 3 weeks injuries can happen here. Barkley got banged up over the weekend, so did A.J. Brown here, so things can always change here. But they're the only complete team. Buffalo, they've scored, 125 points over the last 3 games? I mean, that's nuts. But their defense is giving up about 125 points as well. All right, Baltimore, you just mentioned. Yeah, their offense can score points. Everyone's talking about Josh Allen for fantasy MVP. I know we're bored with Lamar Jackson because he's won it twice already, but he's had a fantastic season as well. But their defense, although it's playing better, once again has issues as well. Detroit doesn't have a defense left. They're all on IR. I know some might return, but some may not. Kansas City, their defense isn't as good as we thought it was early in the season. That offensive line is putrid. All right, it's really bad. It's why Mahomes is running for his life all the time. They're changing their offense around to avoid that. Philadelphia is the only complete team. I don't trust Sam Darnold. I don't trust Russell Wilson as far as big games are concerned here. So I still think it's Philadelphia and Buffalo. Although it's funny, I feel better about Philadelphia than I do about Buffalo. But I think when we get that Chris Berman special, I think he might have asked for that a couple of times in the 90s.
Yeah, about every single year you have Buffalo going to the playoffs. I just find it interesting that they would be the odds-on favorite. I think the AFC's road to the Super Bowl is more difficult than the NFC's road, especially without San Francisco. And again, the NFC West, good stories with LA, but are those teams really Super Bowl caliber? I don't think so. Is the NFC South Super Bowl caliber? I don't think so, right? So realistically, it's a 3-headed race, Philadelphia, Detroit, and Minnesota. And yet, to me in the AFC, you have Buffalo, obviously. You have the AFC North team. And then even if it is not Baltimore, they're still dangerous. You got Kansas City. I mean, I think there's a lot more landmines in the AFC. And yet it's, Buffalo, that's the odds-on favorite at 4-1. I find that amazing.
I'll throw Green Bay in the NFC as well. I think it's
I like the Packers.
It's getting better. I like the Packers. And once again, they're not going to get, maybe they get one home game, if that, in Green Bay. But they're a team that I don't know what you're going to get from Love, right? Because he's a guy who we thought was going to take that next step this year, and he's made some plays that are like, what the hell are you doing? Some bonehead plays there with Jacobs looks great here. Defense is playing well. This is without Jair Alexander, who should be back shortly here. So Green Bay's a good team. It's going to be a fun playoffs. All right, I agree with that. I said I don't think Tampa's all that great. I don't think anybody in the NFC West is going to do any major damage here. Houston Texans, no. Chargers and Broncos, no. So you got Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City. And I even wonder, Scott, of Kansas City, how many miracle wins can we get here? All right, I don't think it's going to happen in the playoffs. You're playing better teams. You're not going to get blocked field goals. You're not going to get interceptions and. I was going to say you're not going to get penalty calls in your favor, but I don't know that actually. You just
that'll happen. Yeah.
Right. The officials will be poor. So it's going to be fun. The bottom line is it will be fun. It'll be competitive. It'll be great TV.
Yeah. I just wonder if Buffalo is just peaked, just a little too soon. That's all. 30 points in 8 straight games. It's amazing the run that they were on. It really is. So, George, great job as always sitting in for Ben today. Do appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Good luck, everybody.
All right, good luck. Football full circle. Under Grid.
You found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.